Hello, everyone. This is Shad Reis from CVI 2025. I'm really privileged to be with a dear friend and a great operator, Karim Azizi, to talk about intracardiac imaging, especially it's evolving lately for structural procedure. Karim, thanks for being with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
So ICE evolved, started with the PFO closure, and now we are looking into left atrial appendage. With the limited resources we have, anesthesia and stuff, and having an invasive cardiologist. So tell us about your algorithm and what you are doing in this field.
Thank you, Shadi. It's been a great area of growth in the structural space in the sense that with the growing demands of such an important procedure, left atrial appendage closure, as we know, has become a very prominent alternative to anticoagulation, and the population is growing. Although just preserved for high-risk patients or high-risk bleeders, um, still the population is big. So to accommodate that growing volume, historically, the procedure has only been done with TE intubation, multiple resources, multiple folks in the room, and operating within a certain period of time or certain hours of the day when the resources are available. We've now evolved in a way that we can rely more on a minimalistic approach that basically utilizes intracardiac echocardiography using 3D/4D, which is essentially nomenclature. But the idea is deriving the images from different axes just from one catheter position in the left atrium and having that important discipline while you're deploying the left atrial appendage device, not requiring anesthesia, not requiring intubation, not requiring art lines. So you're treating it more like a left heart cath or a simple procedure. How does that enable you or enable teams? Well, it enables teams to continue to do these procedures, whether these resources, the other resources are available or not. Some patients, and we've known from data that TE may be somewhat disruptive to their anatomy, may cause some injuries, and some patients may not even have good windows. So having that tool in the toolbox has been great. So just to make sure that your procedures go faster, you may be even more flexible in doing after-hour procedures like we've seen in many systems like ours. This has been a great enabler.
Quick word about 2D, 3D, and 4D.
So 3D and 4D are essentially the same thing. It's just more of a branding between companies. 2D echo is what, as you've highlighted, what we have used in PFO and ASD closure, where you don't have the ability to explain or get multiplanar reconstruction images and 3Ds images. Really, what we use for left atrial appendage closure is not the fancy 3D image that we always think about. It's actually the purpose of that is the ability to derive other images from different angles while the ICE catheter is maintained in a single position. And that's really the power of 3D or 4D ICE. This is why is this important? Because instead of moving the ICE catheter inside the left atrium during the procedure, which can potentially be harmful, can cause some trauma, staying in one or two positions, which have been highlighted now in a mid left atrial position or a supramitral position, you're able to get what you need, making sure that there are no leaks around the device, which is the promise that we give to patients in order to take them off anticoagulation safely. So the 3D, 4D aspect is able to give you that information without having to, what I call helicoptering with the 2D ICE catheter inside the left atrium, in order to make sure that there are no leaks around the whole device.
But the ice catheter is like very flimsy and very like with any cellular movement you get. So is there a system in your cath lab where you can stabilize it and somebody like holding it?
Great question. I think the catheters have been made to be flimsy, to be from a safer profile, and I think I like that. I do think that with interaction they do shift, but based on your workflow, and that's what we've written up and what we have shown and what we follow in our clinical trial, is that there are stages during the procedure where you pause, you take your images, and then you move with your regular procedure, and then you turn on your imaging and you navigate and you micro adjust. And between, honestly, the catheters that are available on the market, the Philips Vericide catheter, which is an excellent catheter, 9 French inside a 10 French sheath. You have the GE Novera New Vision catheter, which is a 10 French inside an 11 French delivery sheath. I think between those two, and now Siemens is coming in with a newer catheter, there's a lot of tools that can come in to give us that different kind of levels of imaging, and each have their own kind of additions. but it all depends on what kind of ultrasound systems you have in your system and your cath lab or echo lab that you use. Yeah.
Now the learning curve is really steep, right? So if somebody would like to learn it first, let's say they go to courses and learn it or have a proctor, do you recommend doing TE and ICE simultaneously, and then when they can get rid of the TE after how many cases?
Great question. I think I'll tell you my own personal experience and how I learned to do this. It started with proctoring. It started with, about 4 years ago, I've learned with a couple of our electrophysiology colleagues on the discipline of crossing into the left atrium. But a lot of them, they still do the procedures with general anesthesia. That's just how we do ablations and whatnot. But over time, and especially in the first few cases, yes, you want to do TE, which is your usual comfort zone. Do the procedure with ICE or concomitantly. Familiarize yourself with the images and the angles because they do look different in certain angles. And once you are able to evolve from having them concomitantly on and off, what you can do is do ICE only where TE is on standby and to check your work at the end, and then finally take off the training wheels and just do ICE alone. I think that number of cases has varied between different people. Quite honestly, it moved from 5 cases in certain hands up to 15 and 20 cases. Mm-hmm. We are actually looking into this within our clinical trial that we're running, which is comparing ICE-only guidance in left atrial appendage closure versus TE. We're looking at procedural times. We're looking also at the learning curve of how people are adopting this, because it's important to understand what does it take to understand that discipline in maintaining that ICE catheter safely in the left atrium, but also to get your images and understand what you're looking at with the ICE catheter.
Yeah, and you can do all your pass criteria for appendage closure all within ICE.
Yes, so pass criteria for Watchman, close criteria for Amulet, and we've worked with actually both through the imaging companies to come up with workflows in order how to get those images and how to navigate, how to measure compression for Watchman, how to make sure that you're closed everywhere around the device with the Amulet device, for example. So I think more to come on that. For example, in the Catalyst study, which is currently looking at Amulet in low-risk patients, non-high-risk bleeders, there is an arm that allows you to deploy these devices with ICE only and without TE, requiring that you have met certain criteria, you have done some. So personally, I have put some of those patients in the trial, and which leads us to the next thing. If the demands are so much high right now, you can imagine with low-risk patients, if the Catalyst study and the Champion AF study come back positive in favor of left atrial appendage closure in low-risk patients, you will see a much higher spike, and there will be demands for this because the resources of anesthesia and supporting these cases are going to be very limited.
Awesome. Well, Karim, very impressive. This is like a manuscript of ICE and how to protocol and how to start yourself. This is a very important skill, like for the audience, this is an important skill to learn, especially if you are kind of having limited resources in the cath lab. Watch the videos and others on the CVI YouTube channel. This is Shad Grace coming to you from CVI in Austin.